Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our review coming right up of Week 5 of CFL action. Make sure you guys leave a like, share this video around, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on this week's games. Rick, relatively rough week in terms of our predictions. Rough week for me in terms of team performance, as we will get into.
Okay. Listen. I will take a 1-3 for my predictions if it means Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa all lose.
And the Ticats win.
Because we are now 2 points. If we win next week, or this coming week against Ottawa, we are in first in the East.
Oh? Do you know he's not... Oh, yeah, because I guess you guys have the tiebreaker.
Yes, sir.
With Montreal. Okay. Well... So, shall we get into the first game of the week then? Starting with the Thursday night game?
With the beloved Stampede Bowl, we shall.
Ah, what a disaster for Winnipeg. As the Calgary Stampeders just absolutely trampled the Bombers 37-16. And when I say trampled, I mean... The Bombers, this was a combination of two things. I think Calgary played a pretty good game. I don't think there's anyone doubting that. And I think the Bombers played a particularly poor game as well. As if we're looking here and we go to the Stamp side of things to start off, Vernon Adams Jr. with a decent night. Not a ton of work. Only 13 for 18 because they were able to rush this ball like there was no tomorrow. Dedrick Mills, 93 rushing yards on 18 rushes with an average of 5.2 with one rushing touchdown. Didn't really need to kick for any field goals. And then in terms of defensive efforts, I thought in particular Derek Moncrief, who I believe was on Saskatchewan, is that right? Derek Moncrief?
Yes.
He looked spectacular. The Calgary defense had just, I'm not gonna lie. I was talking to Bleed Blue 204 on Instagram. Make sure you guys give him a follow. They're great. And he was talking about how he's like, damn, Adam Bighill went there and just told him the defense, and we were fucking cooked. That like we were done. They knew the system. They knew exactly, and they exploited it. And that was the problem. Is that. So what have I talked about for a while, Rick? I've talked about how Winnipeg Blue Bomber football consists of a few things. Numero uno, get a lead at the start of the game. Numero dos, run the ball to hell with Brady Oliveira. He will get you first downs. He's that goddamn good of a running back all on his own. You kill clock. You have tons of time of possession. They have very little chance on their offense to get going. And by the time they maybe are able to get anything going, it's too late in the game. And it's just garbage time at that point. The problem was the Bombers were in a 15-3 hole after the first quarter. And the Bombers' goal, to be honest, was escape from the half at that point. It was oh, excuse me. It was all, I burped there. I have a drink next to me. It was all downhill. It was bad. Now, there was a bit of a heated debate after the game over on the Bonfire Sports postgame show, which I will want to get into at some point because it kind of addresses an interesting idea of what to do when you're in a game like this. But I think there were a few issues because I kind of want to go through the Bomber side of this, if that's okay, Rick. And then afterwards, we'll talk a little bit about the Stampeder side of it.
Sure.
So for Winnipeg, this was Zach Collaros. This was a rough game. Now the reality is when you have 48 passing attempts, it's not going to go great. This was not good enough though from Collaros. I've seen much better. This is we're talking a first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback, not looking like himself. I mean, some people would say that this did look like himself, but this is not the Zach Collaros that is the two-time Grey Cup champion and has also won a MOP. Overall, very much an off game for him. Brady Oliveira, 13 rushes, 61 yards 4.7 yards on average. Now, the running game never really got going great, although it wasn't necessarily horrible. It's just the Bombers didn't really have as much the opportunity to use the running game because of the situation they were in the game. Now, Kevin Sklercius would be leading the receiving corps with 10 receptions for 78 yards, and this is because he would run a short, quick 5 to 10 yards maybe hook route, where he's just literally he's playing the wide out, and he's getting that line of scrimmage, he's getting the ball, and he's running out of bounds, and he's right there. And so Jason Hogan saw this, and so he hit it a few times. Now, I don't hate this, the idea of if you see something working, use it more. But there came to a point where Jason Hogan called this play, I swear, 3 or 4 times in a row. Now, we were able to get, 1-2 first downs with it. But the problem is that when you're showing the exact same offensive play to the defense over and over and over, when it's the same corner who's getting burned and getting burned and getting burned, he's then going to be like, you know what? The next time the ball comes over here, I'm jumping in front because likely either he's grabbing it and going out of bounds like he has been because he's already basically going out of bounds like with his momentum by the time he gets the ball, or it's a pick six down to the end zone. And so what happened was a pick six down to the end zone. So this would have been for I'm trying to remember if I want to say it was Moncrief with the 70-yard return, which was the one that picked that Sklercius pass. But the Bombers were in a 29-6 hole going into halftime, and I'm not going to lie, 1 second left, and the Bombers, they would kick a 29-yard field goal. So they're on like the 22-yard line. Now, they kicked the field goal here. Yeah.
Just a fact check. It was Damian Webb who got that 30-yard interception for a touchdown.
But that was on the Sklercius pass? Because I'm not sure if it was in the first or fourth quarter. Because there were 2 pick sixes.
This one was in the first. This one was a minute 26 left in the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like the one I'm referring to, I'm not sure which one it is because there were 2 pick sixes. But it is one of them. It's either Moncrief or Webb's. That is true. But with this, so the Bombers would kick a field goal with like a second left on the clock. And they kick a 20-yard field goal. So which that tells you that realistically you go about 7 or 8 yards up. So that ball's on like the 13, 12-yard line, roughly, somewhere in there. I'm not going to lie. If you're Winnipeg, and at this point you are down 29-3, fucking go for it. I'm sorry. 3rd down, I don't give a shit. There's 1 second left on the clock. A field goal does you nothing when you are losing. But when you are losing that bad, and I understand that maybe you don't get it, and maybe that's not a good thing going into halftime. I understand that hindsight is 20/20. Totally get that. However, what I'm saying here is, if you just go for the field goal, you could make the argument that you've already lost the game. The Bombers have come back from that. Not often. Not often. This is a uncommon situation for Winnipeg. However, if you make that touchdown, if you get that touchdown pass, that's something you can build off. Now you got life in this team. And so I was hoping that the Bombers would come out and do a lot better. The Calgary put up nothing in the third, but neither did really Winnipeg. They got a field goal, and that was about it. Field goals are great if you're getting them each and every drive you're going down, and you're being able to hold the offense pretty good in a low-scoring game. When you're down by 29 points, that's not good enough. No, that's not going to cut it. That's nothing. So the Bombers would eventually get a touchdown near the end of this game for Stearns, as he got his first touchdown as a Bomber. So congratulations to it. Also, congratulations to Corcoran for getting his first CFL reception, in a regular season game. So congrats to him. Wheatfall, you know that guy who's doing really great in prior weeks? What if we just... Rick. What if we don't fucking use him? You know that guy who's been amazing? What if we just what if we never threw the ball to him? What if we did that?
Yeah,
never
one
threw
pass?
it?
Yeah.
One pass. 1 pass for
One out of
Wheatfall.
3.
And
Right
we were
there.
just talking about how, like, seriously, you would have thought he was goddamn injured in this game because of how little you saw
Didn't
him
Dalton
and
Strong
how.
get injured?
We're not sure. It's kind of unknown. The good thing is he walked off the field on his own 2 feet. So, and that's better, I can say, for some injuries I saw this weekend. But there was that. But I want to talk about one little thing, then we'll cover the Stampeders a bit, and then we'll go to the next video. And this was on the Bonfire Sports post-game show with Darren Bombing, and Schnitzer was on for this one. I can't remember his first name. But there was a big, heated debate where Schnitzer said that the Bombers should have pulled Zach Collaros with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, whereas Darren Bombing agreed with the timing that Mike O'Shea decided to pull Zach Collaros and put in Chris Drevler. And Schnitzer's rationale was, at that point you have lost the game, and not only that, you're just risking injury with those 10 minutes left. Now, I understand what he is saying here. However, I fall more into the camp that Darren is saying, because what Darren said is, okay, this is a team that has had some adversity. Even last year, we went like 0-4, 0-5, and then we went on like a 10-game winning streak. This is your franchise quarterback. Multiple Grey Cups with him. 5 consecutive Grey Cup appearances. If you pull him with 10 minutes left in the game, you might as well be throwing in the towel. And what kind of message does that send to the players? The message of, I quit. We're just going to get reps in. We're going to make this a practice for the rest of the game. That's shitty coaching in that sense. This is the argument that I guess kind of that I saw Darren making. And as much as I understand Schnitzer's argument here, I'm kind of with Darren here, because as much as, and one thing that he brought up that's very, very important here is that could Collaros have gotten injured in those last 10 minutes, or those extra 5 minutes that he played compared to what Schnitzer sent to pull him at? Yes. You know when Zach Collaros also could have gotten injured? The first play of the game, second play of the game, first drive, second drive, third drive, fourth drive, first quarter, second quarter, third. He can get injured at any point in the game. You could get injured in a game when you're losing by 20, or if you're winning by 20. The Bombers could be beating someone 35-6, and Zach Collaros is still playing because there's still a decent amount of time left in the game. He could still get injured on that, even if it would make no sense to pull him. So the risk of injury isn't really reduced if you pull him out with that much time left, because there's such a narrow amount of time there, and with the negative repercussions it would send to your players, I don't think that would have been the right call. So I think O'Shea made the right call there, in terms of when to put in Chris Drevler. I do disagree with, there was a play that was very much designed for Chris Drevler, where you fake the pass, fake the handoff, and just rush it, that he tried using Zach Collaros for. That is a Chris Drevler designed play. Don't fucking do that. That's a bad idea. Let's not do that. You want to talk about being able to injure your quarterback? That's a great way to do it. But yeah, I to be honest, I didn't like this game. I thought the only thing that maybe looked half decent was special teams, also known as Sergio Castillo was fine. He was good. Would have preferred to not use him, in the sense of there were times that he was kicking that we should have just been going for it, because of how far behind we were in this game. Defense looked like garbage. I'm not gonna lie. Defense sucked. Defense was garbage. And Calgary just played better. Vernon Adams Jr., 222 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. With Zach Collaros, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions on just almost 48 attempts. Just brutal there. Dedrick Mills, great game for him. Jalen Philpott, decent game for him. Barnes and Alford with a touchdown. I believe Barnes went out potentially with injury, or it was someone else. I think it was him.
No, it was Barnes.
It was Barnes. And yeah, and then obviously Webb and Moncrief with the interceptions, and Robertson, Webb with 8 defensive tackles each. So all in all, Calgary, they win the inaugural Stampede Bowl. So I guess the question for next year will be, Is there going to be a rematch, or is this going to be Calgary defending the trophy against a new opponent? We will have to see.
You know what? This is the first game I've never seen a kicker not kick a field goal.
In the next one?
No, Paredes, he didn't kick a field goal.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't fucking have to. Didn't have to when the defense was doing so goddamn bad and they just gave up everything.
I guess so.
But, yeah, I mean, if you're Winnipeg, this is a game you forget about, to be honest. This is a game you put behind you. You don't fret this.
You go on the bye week and forget.
You go, you take your bye week, take a little bit of time, you get back to practice, you do what you do best, and just get back to blue and gold, Blue Bomber football. And just prepare for week 7 when you play them at home. Thankfully, Bombers are a lot better at home, so we'll see that. Shall we go to the next one here, Rick?
We shall go to this one.
So,
hey, Carter,
the Hamilton Tiger Cats defeat the Toronto Argonauts in the No Defense Bowl, if we're going to go with bowl games.
Did you hear the news?
I'm going to need you to...
There's a new sheriff in town.
And his name is Kenny Lawler. And he's bringing the law. He's bringing the law. It's Kenny Lawler.
Laying down the law.
Laying down the law, yes. 6 receptions, 207 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns for Kenny fucking Lawler.
To explain the whole game, Toronto won the coin toss.
Yep.
They marched down their first set of possessions and got a touchdown.
Kevin Brown, 2 yards. Haralahu with the PAT.
Yeah. We went down. We ended up punting. They ended up throwing an interception to Amos. And in one play, he throws a touchdown to Kenny Lawler.
Yes.
Now, you can ask anyone. I even spoke to Adam Goss, the PA announcer for Toronto, any Argo fans. I said, listen, if you are going to do something, learn from Montreal's mistakes and double team the player. What did they do? They didn't double team him.
Yeah, no, there's no double coverage. Yeah, the guy you should be putting in double coverage every single play, they didn't put double coverage on.
And then after it was 7-7, we got the ball back. We kicked a field goal.
44 yards. Mark Leggio.
Yeah, we got the ball back again. Throws yet another touchdown to
79 yards for Lawler.
At this point,
and Leggio meets the PAT.
Bo is 2 for 4 for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns to Kenny Lawler.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it just, ever since...
The Hamilton Tie Bombers look great, boys.
Ever since that interception, every time we would score a touchdown, Toronto would score a touchdown. Toronto would try to catch up, and then we would get another touchdown. So, this saw 5 touchdowns by Bo Levi Mitchell, 2 from Arbuckle, 2 rushing touchdowns by Toronto, 1 rushing touchdown by Greg Bell, a kickoff return by Janarian Grant, a kickoff return by Isaiah Woodson, and some guy out in BC won $1 million.
Yeah, I was about to say 2 kickoff return touchdowns. There is a new millionaire over in BC because of this game. His name's Roy. Look at that. $1 million for Roy, which is crazy in the sense of he made more money than every CFL player. Which it's funny. I made the joke with my friend. What does $1 million in BC buy you though? I'm a little concerned, but hey, $1 million is $1 million.
But yeah, so one of the punts that Nick Constantino had was dead on perfect, landed right at the 1 yard line, and then rolled out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you could. So after this game was set and done, you could tell Toronto fans were pissed.
Well, they gave up 51 points. Bo Levi Mitchell, 19 for 24, 332 passing yards, 13.8 yards on average, and here's the big one, 5 passing touchdowns and no interceptions.
And through through 5 games, he has 9 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Yeah, no, Levi Mitchell is... It's funny, he didn't win MOP last year. I still think it was the right decision. However, he wants it this year. And if Hamilton, if he keeps this up, and if Hamilton as a team keeps up the effort that they're doing, to be honest, he's got that. Seriously, he has been instrumental for Hamilton. He has picked up right where he left off last season in terms of his performance. The only difference now, Rick, is that I think the rest of the team is really starting to pull a lot more of their weight than just Levi Mitchell like last year.
Like what? Like defense, offense?
The defense has been better. The offense as a whole has been better. Rather than just the one man who is a diamond on a team that is at the bottom of the East, you have a diamond surrounded by the cluster. And so that cluster is finally going. That's a horrible fucking analogy, but it works.
So, Devin Versek, who was our 2nd overall draft pick.
8 tackles. Nice.
This guy, I kid you not. Let me just pull up the numbers because I want to make sure that I have them correctly. He has... let's go to Hamilton. He has 18 defensive tackles in 4 games as a rookie.
Damn.
I mean, our good friend Micah Otway is leading the way with 43, but that's not bad considering that you're just drafted and you're already 29th in the league in tackles. Tied with Niles Morgan and Damian Webb at 27th in the league. That is why Kyle Wilson got released when he did.
Yeah. So, is there anything else to talk about this game other than the fact that Hamilton...
Toronto side of things. I'm just going to talk about the Toronto side of things. Nick Arbuckle went 27 for 38, 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, you can't blame the game on him.
No, actually, that's not that bad. That's decent numbers. That's should be good enough to be able to get you a win. I'll put it this way. When you give up 51 points, it's not the offense that lost you that game. There's no game where you give up 51 points and the offense is the reason you lost. It is the defense. Unless all of those points are pick sixes, which True. They were not. It is, it is the defense that lost. Now, obviously, I know the special teams problems, but again, that went both ways. Both teams gave up one. It was the defense that lost Toronto this game. They lost a lot of talent when it came to defense in terms of guys that signed elsewhere, guys that moved on.
Not only that, but injuries too.
Injuries. Rick, it showed. It very much kind of showed.
That game.
There were holes everywhere, and everywhere there was a hole, Mr. Kenny Lawler would find it. He would grab it and then go to the end zone. He would do the thing that he does best. So.
Oh, the best part about it was you have Kenny Lawler standing in the end zone, barking at Toronto. You have Levi Mitchell on this end, barking back and forth with Chad Kelly. So it's just like...
Oh, my. So, final score, 51-38 Hamilton. Shall we move on to the next one?
We shall.
And the next one would be the BC Lions defeating the Montreal Alouettes in a game where Montreal just threw it away. They threw it away. This game kind of pissed me off in the sense of that Montreal had this, but then they shot themselves in the foot.
Do not forget, with a little sprinkle of WWE in it too.
Oh yeah, no, we got some. We got like a Vince McMahon backstage fight going on at the end of this.
So, the interesting thing about that is, depending on who you talk to, you're gonna get a different story. there was Montreal saying that the BC guy tried to sneak into Montreal's locker room. The BC guy is saying that he was just going to talk to an old teammate. You have a guy on the Montreal team that's on a practice roster, not even dressed, throwing
Rick,
haymakers.
Rick, I have a question.
What's that?
Did you ever watch that game years ago between the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks where John Tortorella tried to fight,
tried to go into
the dressing room?
Yes, I
to
did
where
watch
now
that.
they actually have a retractable wall in Rogers Arena that they put up between periods to make sure this could never happen again. And John Tortorella grabbed a Sharpie and signed it because he's the whole fucking reason that wall exists. Rick, this seemed like a John Tortorella sort of thing. Like, so ridiculous, but
it's funny because at the end of the game, Jason Moss is doing his interview.
Yeah.
All he does is turn his head and he books it.
Yeah. I think you might. I haven't seen that, but I heard that there was some shenanigans at the interview. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to do a video on it.
Oh, no. This interview is going off at the same time as the fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, send it over when you can. But BC defeats the Alouettes 21-20. BC putting up a big fat donut in the first and third quarter. However, it doesn't matter as they get 12 points in the fourth quarter, including a 43-yard field goal for Sean White to win the game. Now, the controversial thing here is, Rick, what happened just before Sean White kicked this field goal?
I will be honest, I never saw it, but I heard that there was some shoving and punching beforehand.
There was a 15-yard penalty that mysteriously put Sean White into field goal range, because Sean White field goal range has to be under 45 yards. You know it. It does. He'll hit everything under 45, but it's got to be under 45 or 50. And that'll do it. You know, it just,
so,
man.
I have a follow-up question for you. So if you look at Nathan Rourke's numbers, 22 for 36, 352 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. What do those numbers look to you?
What was this, sorry?
Okay, so if you look at Nathan Rourke's numbers,
Okay.
he threw 352 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Is it he had a good game, or he threw a lot of yards but had a shitty game? Because
he did a good job moving the ball down the field. Struggled in terms of getting that finish though, getting it done in the red zone, getting that long drive converting into touchdowns. That would be my takeaway. And Bethel Thompson, although 15 for 23, only 192 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I thought this was a much better game for Bethel Thompson. Sean Thomas Erlington, 11 rushes, 76 rushing yards, 6.9 yards on average for him with a longest rush of 20 yards. Good game for Sean Thomas Erlington. Tyson Philpott with 57 receiving yards on 3 receptions for 1 touchdown. Touchdown as well for Sean Thomas Erlington, receiving 2 receptions for 22 receiving yards. Speaker, Sneed, and Rambo as well getting a little bit of action there. But passing game just not able to get going quite the same without Davis Alexander. Murray, 10 defensive tackles here for the Alouettes. So a good game for him. Beverett and Mullen with a sack each, as well as an interception for Ento for the Montreal Alouettes. For the BC Lions, Micah Awe led the charge with 11 defensive tackles. There would be a sack for Covington as well as Toure, and no interceptions received by the BC defense, as Bethel Thompson didn't throw any, and neither did Caleb Evans for the 2 plays that he was in. But I'm just going to take a look here. Keep going on that.
Beverett and Mullen each had a sack. And Covington and Toure each had a sack for BC. Maltos went 2 for 3. So far, only Sean White and Mark Legu are perfect on field goals.
Yep.
Something's got to give. One of them's gonna blow it.
It'll happen eventually, but all in all, you guys are in separate divisions, so shouldn't be too big of an issue for you. So, shall we get on to the final game, Rick?
And Carter, welcome to the Justin Rankin Show.
Yes. Now, one thing I do need to do is I need to update this graphic because we still have the other Elk head on the bottom. And I don't have the updated EE. I just still have the old one. But that's okay. The Edmonton Elks would win by a score of 39-33 to capture their first win of the season. Ottawa drops to 1-4. And Edmonton goes up to 1-3. And they win at home, which is very important because that's something where if they want to get fans back in that building, that's the number one thing they got to do. Win, and win at home specifically. So, relatively good game here for the Edmonton Elks. So, Cody Fajardo would go in. He'd go 4 for 4. 29 passing yards. Hirak Moambo did not like that Cody Fajardo was passing here, as he was very frustrated that they're not just fully giving the reins to Trey Ford through and through. In the sense of if this is going to be your guy, you got to show that confidence that this is your guy. Now, not necessarily saying that Fajardo is not worthy of being a starter somewhere else or whatever, fair enough. But if Trey Ford is going to be the future of the Edmonton Elks, then you got to fully give him the boat here. But he went 15 for 17. 212 passing yards, 12.5 yards on average, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Good game for Trey Ford in a more minimal role, with them being kind of under 20 passing attempts, but that's fine. As Justin Rankin, 12 rushes, 105 rushing yards, 8.8 yards on average. Just beautiful. And then Javon Leake did a little bit of rushing. However, what you're going to know him for in this game, Rick, is the punt return touchdown that he had in the second quarter, as well as...
Pimpleton had one. I thought we were going to have another $1 million winner, but they weren't kickoffs.
Yes, yeah, there's 2 punt return touchdowns, as Pimpleton would have a 97-yard return, and Javon Leake would have a 94-yard return. So it's funny, as much as they're not kickoff return touchdowns, in terms of the amount of yards that they rushed, they arguably basically are, but unfortunately, that's not good enough for winning $1 million. You got to get all the technicalities for that.
Yes, sir.
But, yeah.
And one last thing, or one other thing that I'm going to mention, I don't mean to gross anyone out, but in Mining Carter's Pools group on Facebook, I forget who it was that was in there that said it today. If you go and watch the at Ottawa Edmonton game, apparently you can hear Devontae Dedmon's knee snap.
Was he the one that was driven off?
Yeah, it was Dedmon that was carted off.
And you can hear it? Yikes. Yeah, no.
I can't remember who in the group said
that
today.
I'm not going to do that, Rick, but I'm not necessarily doubting you. Yeah, no, that's not good, though. Anytime you see a guy leave and not leave on his own 2 feet and leave on either a stretcher or in the back of some sort of motorized equipment, that is not good, just for just for reference. However, Vincent Blanchard, who again had a bit of a rough start to the season, he's been relatively good. 3 for 3, 4 extra points. Only the longest at 35 yards, so nothing too crazy, but he hit everything they needed to hit, so no big misses there. So I think that's good, as I think Edmonton maybe had a little bit of concern about him with the way he started the season, but he has definitely improved, and it looked good. And he actually did grab a single as well, with a 71-yard kickoff, which I'm assuming there was probably a penalty before that. I didn't see it, to be frank. I saw a bit of the third quarter of this game, as well as the second and the third quarter is probably what I saw the most of in this game. And this was just kind of very back and forth in the sense of Ottawa getting more offense in the second and the fourth quarter, but Edmonton in that first and third. So it would end up with the Elks win in a relatively close game again, 39-33. Drew Brown would be back for this game. 31 completions on 43 attempts, 316 passing yards, 7.3 yards on average, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, Drew Brown actually had a pretty decent game. There's no, I would not say by any means that Drew Brown or that if you put Dustin Crum in this game that Ottawa does any better. I'm not going to lie. Eugene Lewis would have a touchdown in this game. There was a really, really bad drop by Eugene Lewis where he's thrown a bullet pass by Drew Brown. And when I say bullet pass, I'm not tucking anything like obnoxiously hard for the distance, but a very normal bullet pass to Eugene Lewis. And Eugene Lewis has his hands up like this to catch it. It literally goes straight through the diamond he makes, hits him right in the chest, and falls on the ground. Right in the center of the chest. And I watched that and I just went like, holy fuck, you're making a lot of money to not catch that pass. Like,
it's funny.
He still led the team in receiving yards.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've learned from the past that if you go in to go watch a game in person, you never see the full game. You always have to go back afterwards and watch it because then you always miss something that you don't see the first time. And in our game this week, I guess Keandre Smith went to go catch a ball with one hand. Bo walks over to him and says, "Listen, that's not how we do things. Catch it use 2 hands to catch a ball, not one."
In which game are you talking about, sorry?
This week.
Oh, yeah.
It was just before Keandre caught the touchdown. And then the next play he goes back to him and he catches the ball for a touchdown. It's like you're
talking the Ticat game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just using what you were saying as an example. Yep. Yeah, if you use both hands and catch it with both hands and not let it go through the diamonds,
yeah,
you could have a lot more catches.
Well, it's funny. The when I saw this game and I saw that the Elks won it, you know what I thought? I'm like, you know what it is, Rick? Do they have to wear the 3rd jerseys? Is that what it is? Is that what Edmonton needs to do to get a win at home? So,
apparently the pitchforks are out in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, for who?
Bob Dice's head.
Yes, I did hear about this. I did see the.
Mind you, that started last week when they lost to Toronto.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, because there's been a few interesting tweets from CFL attendances. I'm posting this because he posted the attendances for the 4 games here. So we'll kind of transition to this conversation to a little bit of kind of a wrapping up of everything.
Sure.
So firstly, he said that Winnipeg... during Winnipeg's kind of retool that they did years ago when they were pretty bad for a couple of years, their attendance went down and then it kicked up once the team started performing. That's 100% true. So with Edmonton and also with Calgary, I would like to believe that that's the main factor there. The attendance for this week, going through it, the largest attendance was in Calgary, 22,485 in attendance. Over at the Stampede Bowl. Relatively decent. I'm not going to lie. I think if you're Calgary, you lean into this a lot more year by year. You want that to be a sellout. At some point. But you're above that 20K threshold that I think is a good threshold to hold. So good on you there. Montreal, 21,144. This is actually something that Luke Wilson brought up. When he was ranking the CFL fan bases, and think whatever you want about that list, because all the Ticat fans were not happy about that. I think he put Ticats at last, which shocked me as well. But anyways, he was talking about how Montreal consistently has been able to sell decent crowds. So again, there's a lot of things I disagree with Luke Wilson on. There's a lot of things I have my problems with some of the stuff there.
Just to point one thing out, because I was part of this discussion, is him and Farhan Lalji were saying there's a 40-minute drive between Hamilton and Toronto, And a bunch of us Ticat fans said, by the time you do your shift work and you finish at 6, you go home, get changed, you try to get on the highway, even by train, it's still an hour. You're not going to make the game on a Friday night. If it's weekend, then it's a whole completely different story.
Yeah.
We're not even having this discussion.
Yeah.
But when you see 12,701 fans at the Toronto game.
And I was actually going to get to that because I was going to say.
So it gets better. Then Luke Wilson says, oh, there's not many Ticat fans here. But then when Kenny Lawler goes and scores the 3 touchdowns, Simone even had him on the phone during his post game the other day, and he said, Kenny, who did you hear when you scored your touchdowns? Every single freaking time he said Ticat fans.
Yeah.
So we don't need to bring 5,000 fans. There's enough fans of us that go to Toronto when we can.
Yeah, and I although one thing I will say, I don't think the good judge of a fan base is, do they invade other teams' buildings? I mean, obviously, if they do invade other teams' buildings, it looks good on them. But just because they don't doesn't mean they're not succeeding in their own market. But what I was going to say is, so Montreal, he had complimented the Alouettes on this, and to be fair, Alouettes' attendance has been relatively good, 21,144. Edmonton Elks, 16,588. You really want to get that up. Hopefully with them getting a win can help that, but they need to get some consistent winning and really gain a true identity to that team again. And then Toronto, 12,701. That is bad.
If you think about it, though, compared to their home opener, they had almost 2,200 more fans this week than they did last week.
Toronto did?
No, Edmonton did.
Oh, Edmonton did. This is true.
So,
you want it, like, in my opinion, you got to hit at least 18. You got to hit at least 18. To be honest, ideally above 20, but you got to hit at least 18. But Edmonton will bounce back to that. Toronto, well, that's a whole other issue. But all in all, if we are, and again, one thing I do want to make this clear, when I'm talking about attendance and whatnot, I'm not saying that the fans that they do have are not great fans. I'm good friends with one of them. He's one of the most passionate CFL football fans I know. So, want to make that clear, as the Ticat, the Argos, despite not having a large fan base, they do have a very hardcore fan base for the fans they do have. So, I wanted to make sure that was very, very clear. But we have a bit of an interesting week coming up. We will do a preview video on that. Only 3 games, but make sure you guys do check that out. We'll be recording that probably tomorrow. I don't know. We'll have to figure out. My schedule's kind of all over the place because I got a bunch of stuff going on, but we'll figure it out and we'll get the video up before the game on Friday. So make sure you guys leave a like on this video, share it around if you and subscribe if you have not already. Comment down below what you guys thought of the games, and if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure to give us 5 stars. We really appreciate all of your support for our listeners on Spotify. Rick, is there anything else?
No.
All right. Well, peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys next time.